Hey, I'm Mike with Smokin and Drinkin, and today I'm going to show you how you can make a simple but succulent pulled pork on the smoker. And you'll want to stick around till the end, or I'll show you how you can make a cheap but delicious table wine to pair with it, and without any expensive or complicated equipment. All right, we've got a 7-pound pork butt here. Some people call it a Boston butt. And we're going to trim some of the fat off of it. And then we're going to season it with some Traeger pork and poultry rub, apple and honey. And that'll pair with the apple pellets we have in the Traeger 22 series, Pro 22 series Traeger. And we'll just trim some of this excess fat off, get it seasoned, and get it in the smoker. I'm going to trim some of this hanging fat off of here because it's just going to burn if you don't. It kind of sticks up. Don't need it. It's just trimming some of that, little bit of that excess off of there. Don't have to get too crazy. I think I should have grabbed a sharper knife. On the back side, this fat cap, I like to trim some of that off, get down to the meat. Some people leave it on there, and that's okay too. I'd like to get that seasoning down to the meat because it won't get through this fat while it's rendering off in the smoker. Just some of it. We don't have to get too deep with it. If you're just starting out with smoking, or you got a new smoker and not sure where to start, a pulled pork is a good place to start. It's a good beginner dish. The pork butt is very forgiving. It's really hard to go wrong with a pork butt. This is just a simple pulled pork recipe, nothing too fancy. We'll smoke it for about 5 hours, bring it up to about 165 on the temp, and then we'll pull it off, and we'll put it in a pan and make it kind of a marinade or an au jus, if you will, to give it the rest of that smoke and give it that juicy flavor. But we'll do it uncovered at first, get that good bark on there. So just a little bit here, and it should be about right. One big chunk here. Okay, that ought to do. Just set that aside. Now we'll put a binder on there. I like to use just plain old yellow mustard. Doesn't have to be anything fancy. The binder just helps to keep the seasoning, the rub on there. You don't have to use a binder, but it just helps a little bit. You want to keep that rub on the meat as long as possible and get it in there and get it seasoned. So just put a good slathering of mustard on there. The taste you won't taste the mustard. It's just a binder. Okay. Now we'll get the Traeger pork and poultry rub on there. Should have wore gloves. Would have made this easier. That's all right. It's just mustard. Okay. Traeger's not a sponsor or anything. I just like their stuff. This is a good rub. It's apple and honey infused pork and poultry rub. It's a little windy, so we'll give some to Mother Nature here. You want to be pretty liberal with your rub. You want to get it well covered. Whoops. And get all sides, get it in there. Get it patted in there a little bit. Use some of this off of the board. Don't want to waste it. Don't be afraid to go heavy with the rub. Pork is one of those where you can really get it in there, give it a good flavor. Okay, so we got our rub on there. That's really all there is to it for prep. We'll get it in the smoker. So use the temperature probes, get it up to about 165. It'll probably take about 5 hours, maybe a little longer. It's a little cool out today, so might take 6 hours. So we'll get that in the smoker. You want to make sure when you put your temperature probe in that you don't get into that bone, because that's going to give you a false temperature. I have 2 probes on this Traeger, so I like to use them both if I'm not making something else. Just give me a little more accuracy on the readings. So, all right, we'll let that go. Again, about 5 hours, and we'll be back in a minute. Okay, we've got our pork up to 165, and ready to take it out and add some butter and sugar to it, and cover it. Put it back in. Oh, it's got a nice bark going on. Looks really good. Nice and juicy. We're going to add some brown sugar, about half a cup, just right on the top. It's going to give it a nice caramelized texture and flavor. And then about 4 or 5 tablespoons of butter. I'm going to try and use some good butter. This is unsalted. But you can use salted if you want. Pop it right on the top there. Okay, then we're going to cover it. Tin foil. And then when it goes back in, you want to remember to put the probe back in so that we monitor that temperature. So back into the smoker. let that go for another 4 or 5 hours till we get up to a temperature of about 200, 205, and it ought to be nice and tender, and we'll enjoy it. I think we've got the pulled pork up to about 205 degrees, so it's ready to pull it off and tear into it. Let's see what we got here. It took about 8 hours total. 5 hours on the first cook, and then another 3 hours in the pan. Oh boy, that's pretty. Nice and tender. It's got a good bark on it. Starting to separate from the bone. That's good. So, as you'll see, got a bottle of wine here, as promised. Bottle of wine made from Welch's grape juice and things around the house for about $10. So, I'm excited to have a glass of that with this pork. So let's get into it here. Oh yeah, that's nice and tender. Pulls apart real nice. I let it set for about 15 minutes, kind of cool a little bit inside the Traeger. So that just pulls real nice. A little slippery. There we go. Let's get into this wine. That's nice and juicy and tender. Had a nice smoke ring to it. I didn't show you that, sorry, but oh, that's good. You know, for $10 for a half a gallon of wine, that's pretty darn good. So there you have it. Bottle of cheap wine made yourself, a simple pulled pork, and you've got a great meal. That's it for today. Thanks for watching. Remember to like and subscribe. Keep smoking and drinking.